Yeah, absolutely. And that's how I built that company. So, like I said, I started out just doing remodeling handyman stuff. I'd never built a house, had no clue what I was doing. So as I started building my company and getting into new construction, building spec houses and doing other things, I went and hired um, the leaders of my company from one of the biggest developers down there at the time. They were building 60 to 80 houses a year. I hired their vice president and one of their head designers to come work with me and help me build my company. So same thing. I got people that had been in it for 20 years down there building multi-million-dollar beach houses to teach me how to do it and to build the company for me and with me. So that's how I learned. So my first deal was a lot flip, and that's where the light bulb really went off. I was doing some building, and I had a friend of mine who was a real estate agent, and he came along and said, "Hey, there's this lot that we can buy over here for $100,000. My dad has a client that'll pay us 100, 130 for it. I can't remember, somewhere around there like that." He said, "You put up the money, I'll do everything else." And I said, "Can you really do that?" And he's like, "Yeah." So we did. We split the 30,000. I made 15 grand in 30 days. And, to me, that was just an amazing thing. I'd never done anything like that. I'd owned houses, but I'd never done anything, with real estate as an investment or as, a business. And then the light bulb went off, said, "Wait a minute, I'm building, people are coming down here looking for property. So I need to develop property so that I can sell lots to people and then build them the house." So that's what I started doing. I started creating opportunities by buying lots, flipping them to my investors, then building them houses, or I'd tear something down to create lots. I did a lot of oceanfront, and the way you had to get those was to either tear something down, like a hotel that had multiple lots under it, or you had to tear a house down and redevelop. So I kind of got into it that way. And then my first development project, like real development project, from a land development standpoint, came from my engineer at the time, civil engineer. He had a client that didn't pay him. And he said, "Hey, he gave me this project in exchange for the fees. Do you want it?" And I said, "Sure." So I came in, I bought it from him, and, we went forward and developed it. So that was my first, residential land subdivision. And then I started doing some commercial buildings and things like that. A lot of it was, started out for a fee. And then I realized, well, shoot, the guys that are making all the money in this business are developers. That's who's coming down here hiring me to do the project. So I would just ask these guys, I'm like, "Look, where did you make all your money?" And they're like, "We started out like you, building some strip centers, this, that, and the other. But then ultimately, we hire people like you now and manage the process. And our job is to find the deals, create the value, bring the financing, and lead the team to the finish line." So it's just bigger dollars, less headaches, and different business models. So I evolved my business into the development side, which is the company that hired individuals like me at the time. So it was just an evolution of the process and economies of scale. Yeah, once I reached the point to where the business was worth, a multiple of the income, I decided to sell it. And that's when I transitioned into becoming a developer and hiring general contractors to work for me. Because then, I didn't have to take the risk. I didn't have the overhead. I didn't have the headaches of running a company, all those types of things. So it was really when I exited that business, 0405, when I transitioned into the development side, because I was still doing some building, some spec development. I was still building some buildings and things, and it was just easier and more efficient to just hire a general contractor to do it for me, especially post 2009 when the market changed and all the builders were hungry and everybody was looking for work. Just didn't make any sense to self-perform. And then the bigger the projects are, the bigger the risk is in being the general contractor and the developer. So I just didn't want to self-perform anymore. It didn't make any sense when I could hire that out and do multiple projects and not, take the risk as the general contractor.